Hey, what's up guys, John here. Every mainstream media outlet in the world is covering what's unfolding right now in Argentina. A vessel, a cargo ship, is being quarantined off the coast due to an outbreak, a suspected outbreak. You have The Guardian, The Independent, Newsweek, CNN, Reuters, Yahoo News, MSN, all covering this story. Now, when you look at what's happening in Argentina, and you look at what's happened in China just a couple days ago, that they are to screen arrivals for this, and they're monitoring arrivals and people and goods for this. They're implementing strict protocols.
The World Health Organization has declared a global public health emergency following an outbreak of a new strain of the Mpox virus in Africa.
So you have Argentina, you have China, you have India, Pakistan already talking about this, saying that this is a really big problem. Then, on top of all of this, you have Singaporeans are increasingly calling for reinstating work from home measures to curb this. This is coming from the health minister, that he's voicing concerns.
All travelers entering Singapore must report if they have related symptoms like fever or rash.
Now, I believe we could be walking into a really big problem economically. If you start to think about this from the perspective of shipping, distribution, if they start bringing forward different protocols, there's additional delays, there's more restrictions. Those additional delays, restrictions, and costs will likely get pushed on to distributors, to manufacturers, and then on to consumers. Just like if you're a tenant renting a building or renting a unit in a building and the landlord gets the property taxes reassessed or insurance goes up, what are they going to do next? They're going to push the cost onto the tenant, push the cost onto you, right? That's the same exact thing that could be possibly happening that could impact hundreds of millions or billions of people. We could see an inflationary world start to grow due to all of this. And in this video, I'm going to break it down and show you the finance side of it to help you and position you for what I believe is going to be a really big challenge financially if this thing continues to get worse. Please hit the like button. Hit the like button. YouTube will share this content, educate more people about what's going on in the global economy. If you'd like to fix your credit to position yourself for the greatest wealth transfer in American history, we'd love to help you at my company, greatcreditfast.com. That's greatcreditfast.com. If you have late payments, medical bills, charge-offs, foreclosures, bankruptcies, repossessions, or any negative item in a credit report, go to greatcreditfast.com. Click the link in the description just below this video. Schedule a free call for tomorrow. Check out reviews on Trustpilot. Take a look at this. So, I mean, this is wild. Already, they say that 13 countries have already reported this. 13. Now, this was just announced 5 days ago, 6 days ago, and ever since then, it's been every 5, 10, 15 hours, more announcements, more locations, more problems over this. Now, they say here, The Guardian reports that Argentina quarantines cargo ship over this case. Argentinian authorities have quarantined a cargo ship in the Panama River, or Paraná River, over a suspected case. The government said on Tuesday the ship near Argentina's inland grain port of Rosario alerted authorities that one of its crew members of Indian nationality showed cyst-like skin lesions predominantly on the chest and face. The person had been isolated from the rest of the crew. The minister said public health emergency protocols had been activated. The vessel, which had been bound for San Lorenzo port in the Santa Fe province, had to drop anchor on the river, right? And they're saying that Argentina had previously recorded 8 of them. None were this specific strain, right? And they're saying, they're basically saying that we're walking into a situation in which they need to take additional protocols and measures to make sure this thing doesn't get worse. Now, when they make, today.com reported that, will it cause this? Now they're saying, experts are saying this, but that could also change. But when you start to read the article, you'll start to see that, what they say of how to avoid it is what I believe could be the concern, because we could see a big issue where this may or may not happen, right? It's a coin toss in this crazy world we live in. Nothing is stable. Look at the last 4 or 5 years. I mean, it's been basically one crazy event, one big story after the next. So who can say what's going to happen next, right? Who can really predict it? But when you have Hong Kongers traveling to mainland, will have to be screened. Europe is bracing for it. Philippines detects one, right? This is a big issue. Philippines detects one of these, and China is tightening borders, right? You have India saying that this transmission explained on high alert. They're even talking about, I mean, look at what they're saying here, right? This is a big, big problem. And this is only 41 minutes ago. I mean, if you start to ask yourself how this wouldn't impact the economy, how would this, allow the economy to stay where it is right now? Some would say we're in a recession, right? But how would things not get worse? They say 80% of Americans view fast food as a luxury. You have credit card defaults skyrocketing. 40% of Americans are behind on at least one bill. 25% of Americans are food insecure. If we walk into a situation where additional costs are going to be brought forward, I mean, look at America. America basically imports everything, right? Everything is being brought to America for the most part. All of our car parts, our tires, our HVACs, our cell phones, all of our laptops, everything that we get, we basically import and bring in from different countries. If they start to bring forward these additional measures and additional changes to shipping and distribution, how will these costs not be brought on to the consumer? And if this does happen, wouldn't it make sense that banks would be looking at this saying, you know what, we could be walking into an inflationary situation and these costs are going to be pushed on the consumer, a consumer that can barely afford to feed themselves now. They're more likely to default. We're going to assume additional risk with lending this line of credit. Probably, right? Probably. They would most likely see the writing on the wall. And I mean, look at this. This just came out today, and they're saying that they're going to start within days, right? And they're saying it's not the new one. It's not the new one. They keep saying this, but when you start to read the articles, they say if everyone works together, it's not the new one, right? So they say here, this came out 12 hours ago. U.S. contributes more than $90 million. Then, and look at the sources. Sources are always important, right? The U.S. aid, they announced an additional $35 million the same exact day, right? Yesterday. So it's the 20th, and then this is 12 hours ago, basically the 20th, right? Late last night. Now, what they're saying here in France, they're saying that they're preparing. So you have France, you have Singapore. Singapore is saying here that, I mean, look at this. During an update on August 17th, Minister Ong acknowledged that while the immediate risk of this in Singapore is low, it's rapidly spreading in Africa. With no direct flights from the affected regions in Africa to Singapore, the current threat remains minimal. However, it's expected to spread in regions such as the Middle East and Europe, where Singapore maintains flight connections. This is a very worrying situation, especially for an African continent. Mr. Ong said on the sidelines of a skills and career fair that we should work on the basis that it will arrive in Asia. Singapore will likely be one of the first places to see cases due to flight connections. Previously known, so they talk about what this, what it looks like, and you start to see this scenario, you realize that when they're talking, hey, it's in Florida, they're saying, according to NBCMiami.com, is that they're on the rise in Florida. And this just came out a couple days ago, 2 days ago. So you kind of connect the dots here. You realize that we're going to be walking into a scenario, most likely of uncertainty, right? We're walking into an uncertain environment. And it's not just with this scenario, it's with everything. You look at commercial real estate held by regional banks. You look at what's happening inside of banking right now. A lot of banks are in a lot of trouble. You look at the consumer. Consumers are in a lot of trouble. You just start to look out at the big picture. You look at what happened just 2 or 3 weeks ago. It feels like a lifetime ago. But remember what happened to Japan and South Korea and Taiwan and even here in America with Charles Schwab and Fidelity and all the main brokerage accounts, they halted trading. This was happening on 4 different countries, all the same exact day, right? There's a lot happening inside of the economy. And if we get hit with something like this, where uncertainty comes forward, which you start looking at the amount of coverage that this is getting, how will this not impact millions and millions of people's wallets and large corporations? I mean, it's a big problem. I mean, you look at the amount of stories. This is the New York Times saying, another one? Guess what? We're still not ready, right? They're saying we're still not ready. Here, NBC says that what we need to do is you have to go for the vulnerable locations, right? And they say that the lack of activity in intervening period has resulted in what could be now a global, right? Global. This should have been a greater effort to produce and distribute this in these areas. This has not happened, right? And so you start to look at the speed of this. I think that that if you have credit card debt, if you have a situation that's very, very challenging right now, would be the time to take care of it and address it. If you're looking to do a balanced transfer, meaning maybe you have 10, 15, 20, 30 grand in credit card debt at 25, 30% interest, and you feel like you're not going to be able to get your way out of it, look into balanced transfer offers. You might be able to transfer that high interest credit card balance to a 0% APR card. Because if you can get in front of this, financial problem, maybe your own financial problem, in front of all of this crisis that possibly could happen, you might be able to save yourself. Because if this does become a big situation, imagine what you would do if you owned a bank, if you owned a credit card company. You would probably be more careful on whom you lend money to. Right now, that's not the case. So you might be able to, find a really, really good loan to get yourself out of a rock and a hard place, and you might be able to, put yourself in a position to where later you'll thank yourself for doing it. I think we're going to walk into a scenario, regardless of what happens here, where it's going to pay to have cash, stable income. It's going to pay to have great credit. It's going to pay to have an ability to move, because having an ability to pivot and move is the new wealth. Wealth is options. Options, buys you whatever you want to do, right? When you walk into this scenario, if you don't have any options, it's going to be a lot harder to deal with. What do you think about this? Do you think we're walking into a really, really challenging, economic problem over this? Let's have a conversation about this below. And again, on this channel, all I talk about is personal finance, real estate, business, and money. I'm not sure what's going to happen here. No one knows. We live in a very uncertain world. It's very hard to determine how things will play out. But you look at the things from the perspective of just finance, and you'll see that a lot of companies, a lot of individuals, a lot of countries are in really, really big financial problems. Let's have a conversation below. And if you'd like to fix your credit, we'd love to help you at my company, greatcreditfast.com. That's greatcreditfast.com. If you have late payments, medical bills, charge-offs, foreclosures, bankruptcies, repossessions, or any negative item on your credit report, go to greatcreditfast.com. Click the link in the description just below this video. Schedule a free call for tomorrow and check out reviews on Trustpilot. Catch you next video.